Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. Rumors have been swirling around the locker rooms and front offices of the National Football League's Capital Region franchise that Terry McLaurin could be packing his bags and leaving the Washington Commanders come 2026. The buzz began late last season as whispers floated through the corridors of the team's facilities, concerned murmurs about contract negotiations, discontent with play calling, and a growing sense of restlessness among those close to the wide receiver circle. Sources, unnamed but described as within the organization and around the league, suggest that McLaurin's camp has steadily grown frustrated with what they perceive as a lack of commitment from the front office toward building a competitive roster around him. In informal conversations, teammates have reportedly echoed that sentiment, remarking how the offense feels stagnant and that showtime simply doesn't match McLaurin's talent or hunger. It's as if the energy that once crackled around his name now hums with tension. A silent pressure on all sides to decide the next chapter, whether the Commanders will double down and try to keep him, or whether they'll reluctantly open the door and let him walk. Behind closed doors and conversations between coaches, general managers, and insiders familiar with the organization's finances, the tone has taken on a new seriousness. The franchise is reportedly entering a period of financial recalibration, trying to balance upcoming contract obligations, potential draft costs, and cap flexibility. McLaurin, now entering the final year of what some consider an underpaid deal for his production, is believed to be asking for a restructuring with more guaranteed money, a request that from the outside seems reasonable, given his output and upside. Yet, according to leaks, the front office fears that honoring that request might set a precedent for other high-end players, especially with younger assets, demanding raises soon. There's also been tension about messaging. Executives reportedly grew unsettled with McLaurin's growing visibility in media interviews and off-season workouts, believing the optics of a star wide receiver publicly craving ambition might undermine the current rebuilding narrative as the negotiations limbo stretches. Some within the organization whisper quietly that the signal is clear: either McLaurin takes what's offered or he becomes a bye-bye candidate when new contracts and roster reshuffles come. Meanwhile, among the players and coaches, the speculation has taken on layers of emotional undercurrents in the locker room. Several teammates are said to be quietly rooting for McLaurin to stay, citing chemistry, camaraderie, and the leadership he brings. One veteran reportedly remarked in a semi-private moment that losing McLaurin would be like losing the heart of the offense, a blow to morale beyond just statistics. On the coaching side, some assistants privately acknowledge that the offensive structure has often felt like it was being designed around maximizing McLaurin's strengths, his route running, his speed, his sure hands, even if the playbook sometimes seemed limited. There's talk that losing him would force a complete overhaul, a rebuild of schemes, retraining younger receivers, and readjusting expectations for the quarterback. Despite all that, no one in the building seems ready to speak on record, yet the silence itself, in this context, speaks volumes. When everyone is hush-hush, that's often when the biggest moves take shape. Outside the facility, fans have started to catch on social media platforms and fan forums. The whispers have flickered into threads, debates, and hopeful fantasies. Some longtime supporters express worry. What does it mean if the franchise lets go of its brightest offensive star just as he begins to enter what many believe will be his athletic prime? Others speculate that maybe this is the necessary shakeup, a painful but honest admission that management must tear down the old framework and rebuild from scratch. Season ticket holders, especially those who bought in anticipating explosive plays and highlight reel touchdowns, aren't hiding their frustrations. A few refund season pledges have appeared online, sarcastic promises referencing no more McLaurin magic. But even among the dissenters, there remains a palpable undercurrent of sadness, as if fans are preparing to say goodbye to a beloved hero, uncertain whether the chapters ahead will bring hope or hollow echoes of what once was. From a broader lens, the potential departure of McLaurin is already stirring conversations around the league. As a possible domino moment, rival teams with cap space are reportedly monitoring the situation, calculating which offensive systems might benefit from integrating a polished, high-octane receiver. Others consider the impact on the Commanders' draft strategy. Will they aim to draft a young wideout early, or perhaps pivot to strengthening other positions entirely? Some analysts, still drawing from nameless insiders, caution that letting McLaren walk without a meaningful replacement would be a gamble bordering on reckless, potentially alienating fans and crippling the offense for seasons to come. Meanwhile, inside the front office, whispers of a referendum resonate: rebuild around youth, draft picks and low-cost contracts, or double down on legacy players and go for broke. It's attention not just about money or contracts, but identity. Is this franchise about building sustainable success or quick returns? The answer could hinge on what happens next with McLaren. Elsewhere, in small media circles and among lead pundits, the rumor is already being spun into what could become one of the biggest off-season stories. Mock trade decks are being rearranged on message boards. Imagine headlines in sports magazines and podcasts debate whether this could signal the end of one era and the beginning of another, not just for McLaren and the Commanders, but possibly for the way wide receiver contracts are handled league-wide. Could this situation redefine leverage for established players and franchises with uncertain futures? Could it reshape how much loyalty a team demands from its stars and how much stars demand in return? The buzz has taken on a life of its own, every mention feeding fan speculation, fueling doubts, hopes, fears, and as the off-season approaches, the tension seems only to be building. Will the Commanders shine with renewed energy, or hobble through a painful rebuild? Without their brightest offensive weapon, there's growing chatter about where McLaren might land if the split becomes real. Among the teams rumored to be interested are franchises with young quarterbacks starving for veteran playmakers, teams desperate to reignite stagnant offenses, or organizations willing to clear cap space for a ready-made deep threat. Some insiders whisper his name in connection with clubs known for vertical passing games, where his speed and route precision could immediately elevate their aerial attack. Others speculate he could end up with a team offering rich guarantees, stability, and a chance to compete, a desired environment for a receiver entering what many project to be the prime of his career. The rumor mill even twitches at the idea that a reunion with a former college teammate or an ex-offensive coordinator could lure him. Given reports that McLaren still keeps contact with several coaches and players across the league, if even half of these whispers bear truth, his next destination could reshape whole offenses. Not just for him, but for the team that courts him. From McLaren's own vantage point, analysts suggest this move could make sense. He has already proven he can perform at a high level despite inconsistent quarterback play and limited offensive weapons around him. Landing in a system that actually values precision route running, deep threat capabilities, and targets a dynamic passing offense might allow him to blossom even further. There's talk that some suitors could offer contract terms with robust guarantees, incentives for performance, and a clearer path to the postseason spotlight, opportunities that might outweigh sentimental loyalty to his first team. For a player driven by excellence, recognition, and the desire to win, the potential move could represent not just a change of scenery, but a transformation of legacy. Still, insiders caution that the outcome depends heavily on timing, which teams clear cap space, which coaching staff stay committed, and whether McLaren is willing to bet on a long-term project instead of immediate payday. But the road ahead isn't free of obstacles. Cap space remains tight for many franchises rumored to be interested. Some teams may balk at offering guaranteed money to a receiver coming off seasons of fewer targets than elite peers. The statistical volatility could raise concerns about consistency and durability. There are also logistical complications. Trade proposals would have to balance draft assets, contract restructures, and roster needs in ways that most general managers consider risky. Moreover, the optics of a star receiver demanding a move might rub some organizations the wrong way, especially in locker rooms where team unity and long-term culture are prioritized. Even if McLaren and his camp enter this offseason ready for a shift, there's no guarantee a suitor will emerge willing to meet all demands. In that sense, what seems like a foregone conclusion in gossip might end up being a lengthy gamble, dependent on cap gymnastics and mutual willingness across fan bases and media outlets. The possibility of McLaren leaving has already sparked heated debates. Some claim it's simply good business if you can't commit to building around a star. Better to get value before being forced into an expensive contract. Others argue it smacks of betrayal, a painful farewell to a player who has given so much energy. Highlight real moments and hopes for the franchise. Pundits weigh in on whether the move would signal a larger shift in how teams treat homegrown talent, as assets to be leveraged rather than icons to be revered. Amid speculation, There's talk of trade packages, potential draft day fireworks, and even a ripple effect. Other star players might start asking for more guarantees, more control, and that could upend the balance of power across the league. For fans of the Commanders, it's not just a rumor, it's an anxious waiting game. One that could define how they view loyalty, ambition, and the fragile alliance between player and franchise. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Some close to the ground sources, preferring anonymity, hint that nothing is final, that this may be nothing more than noise. Early season posturing meant to test the waters. The same front office members reportedly reached out to McLaurin's agent for a peace offering, reviewing potential ways to restructure the deal and meet somewhere in the middle. The tone, insiders say, has shifted slightly. What once felt like a firm stance may now be a softening gesture, but even that shift hasn't quieted the chatter. If anything, it has elongated the speculation, leaving everyone in limbo. Fans wait, analysts wait. The league waits, because whether this ends with a handshake and a new contract, or a wheel and deal that sends McLaurin elsewhere, one thing feels inevitable: his choice will send shockwaves that may be felt far beyond the capital region. As the weeks progress, every practice, every interview, and every social media interaction is now scrutinized through the lens of McLaurin's statements. Rumors abound about potential internal shifts, upcoming plays designed to showcase the team's newfound confidence, and leadership adjustments that could signal a turning point. Fans, analysts, and insiders alike are united by the thrill of uncertainty, speculating on how far this candidness can propel the Commanders toward recognition and dominance. The narrative is electric, fueled by a mixture of admiration, anticipation, and a touch of envy from rival teams. McLaurin's bravery has created a story that is equal parts inspiration and intrigue, capturing the imagination of anyone with even a passing interest in the NFL. It is no exaggeration to say that the league is watching not just the games, but the conversation itself, waiting to see if one player's honesty can truly redefine the competitive landscape. The tension, excitement, and curiosity are building to a point where every statement, every gesture, and every play will be interpreted as part of a larger saga. One that began with McLaurin daring to speak what no one else had dared to say. Ultimately, Terry McLaurin's words have created a ripple that could shape the NFL for years to come. The Commanders are suddenly cast in a new light, one of possibility, audacity, and a willingness to embrace transparency as a source of strength. Analysts, rivals, and fans are all part of a dialogue that feels alive, unpredictable, and thrilling. Fueled by the sheer impact of honesty spoken at the right moment, the story is far from over. In fact, it may just be beginning. Every insider report, social media post, and analytical discussion adds layers to a narrative that combines rumor, revelation, and strategy. McLaurin's candor has shown that a single voice, when articulated with conviction, can ignite conversation, reshape perceptions, and energize an entire team. The NFL is witnessing a rare phenomenon, a player whose influence extends far beyond touchdowns, tackles, or stats, touching on culture, identity, and belief itself. As the weeks continue, the world watches, waits, and wonders what comes next for the Commanders and whether the honesty unleashed by Terry McLaurin will mark the dawn of a new era, not only for a team but for the league as a whole. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.